Hello. ISB is hot this year. You know why? Because nobody wants to go to US. Everyone is afraid of Trump. Everyone is afraid of the job scene going there. And that's why this year we are predicting that ISB's applications are going to go through the roof. And in this video, I'm going to teach you how you can stand out in this competitive cycle. I will share my essay tips and recommendation tips that we have used with hundreds of clients to get them into ISB every year and other programs across the world. But before we dive deep straight into ISB's essay, I'm going to walk you through some of the important details that you should know. For example, the class profile, employment report, tuition fees, deadlines, and then we are going to come and look at essay tips and what you need to submit for letter of recommendations as well. So stick around to the end. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Ameer. I'm founder of Admit Portal and I have been an admissions consultant for the last 8 years. In these 8 years, I have helped hundreds and hundreds of candidates apply to Ivy League programs like Harvard, Stanford, and ISB and IIMs in India. So, if you're looking to figure out how you can crack ISB this year, then let's jump right into the video and go through ISB's class profile. If you can see on my screen on the right here, you will see we are on ISB's official website where ISB discloses the kind of class they put together last year. This is class of 2026. That means the class which started this year and will graduate next year. And the very first thing I want you guys to learn and know about is the average GMAT GRE scores you need to be aware of so that you can compete fairly. So the average GMAT was 720 in the old classic version. In GMAT Focus Edition, the average was 669 or let's say 675 if we round it up on the top. And when you look at GRE, it was 327, 328. Now, this is a bit surprising. Honestly, usually schools have higher GMAT and then a lower GRE. If I were to show you Harvard's class profile really quick here, you will see that the average GMAT score, or let's say the median GMAT score at Harvard was 740, whereas the median GRE was 326. So for most US schools, even for European schools, we typically see higher GMAT and then a lower GRE. But for ISB, it is surprisingly opposite. Now, I don't know the exact reason. If you know why this is happening, feel free to drop it in the comments below. I'm very curious as to why this is happening, why people are able to get into Harvard with a lower GRE, but ISB have a higher GRE. On that note, I'll go ahead and predict that this year, I think ISB will be able to go toe-to-toe with schools like Harvard and Stanford when it comes to attracting candidates with higher GMAT scores as well. Right now, the average at Harvard is 740, which is typically 695 in Focus Edition, like I just showed you, and ISB is at 675. But this year, I have a feeling that the number of applications are going to go through the roof, and so is the competition. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if we see ISB having a 695 median GMAT next year. Other important things you should pay attention here quickly is that at ISB average age was 26, with 4 years of experience. Now, majority of the class is between 2 to 4 years. So, few years back when I was applying for my own MBA, ISB average experience used to be 5 years and most of the class used to be between 4 to 6 years because they were trying to compete with other international programs. But in recent years, ISB has focused more and more on recruiting YLP candidates, and they have also launched a Mumbai campus to recruit fresh graduates. So that's why their class have skewed more and more towards younger candidates. But no worries, even if you are also between 4 to 6 years, ISB recruits a fair amount of candidates. Above 8 years that's where it gets really tricky. Only 35 candidates out of a class of 800. That's not even 10%. That's more like 5% of the class comes from above 8 years of experience. So just a cautionary note for senior candidates who typically have IIMs, PGPX or EPGP from IIM Bangalore as their target school, but also want to shoot for ISB. Sometimes ISB may not be a good fit if you are a senior candidate, and it is because of this metric here. ISB prefers to recruit only 5% of the class when it comes to candidates above 8 years of experience. Whereas if you will look at IIM A, B, and C, their executive MBA programs have average experience of 8 years itself. So that's why they are a better fit sometimes. Other important factors to look at: where are all the undergrad majors coming from? Engineering. India being India, almost everyone is an engineer. Second highest is finance and accounting. And if you look at industries, obviously banking, finance shows up and IT shows up. So that's typical, nothing new here. Now let's move towards ISB's employment report. And see, this is where I have a little distrust of Indian B schools when it comes to disclosing fair employment numbers. Typically, every year, ISB and let's say Masters Union as well, which has been a new and upcomer, they go over and above beating their chest about the average placement stats, how 100% of the class was placed, what is the highest CTC, what is the average CTC, how they have regularly beaten IIMs at it, etc., etc. But this year, when the economy is bad, Harvard, Stanford are taking heat when graduates are going unplaced, but still they put out a fair and audited employment report. Harvard has put out an employment report, so does IIMs. But when it comes to schools like ISB, I am a bit surprised as to why they have not released a full-on audited employment report yet. Similarly, if you look at schools like Masters Union, they also vanished from the scene. They have not put out an employment report this year. That's where the ethical nature of India being India comes in. But even then, let's look at whatever little ISB has put out. And before I end this segment, I'll also show you some of the dark realities so that when this year everyone is hoping ISB is their saving grace, they at least walk in with their eyes open as to what is the reality at ISB as well. So again, looking at ISB's career statistics, what they have put out so far this year. Of 4 domains, of course, consulting, tech, finance shows up always. But more importantly, this is the only graph they have put out. So far, I'm not able to find the average CTC or anything related to salary paychecks or how much of the class was placed by the time of graduation or 3 months after graduation. So if you know the exact numbers or if there is a link on the website which I'm not able to find, please let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to pin it on the top. But what I have been able to find is only where students were placed, what functional areas they went to, what industries they went to. And there's no surprise, 40% of the class went into consulting. After that, of course, comes your IT technology, and then you'll find finance somewhere as the third largest BFSI. Okay, even in functional areas, most of them goes into consulting. Then comes your tech, and then at third, it's always finance. Yeah, finance. For some reason, it is sales and marketing this year. But beyond that, ISB hasn't disclosed what happened with the average CTCs, how many companies came, or how many people were placed. Now, this is where I'll take a slight detour and I'll show you one of the Reddit posts which caught fire a few weeks back because somebody came out from ISB's current batch and disclosed how many students were still unplaced at the time of graduation. So this is the Reddit post that caught fire a few weeks back and almost everyone was talking about it, which is a very long post. Honestly, you can read the whole thing. There are 2 parts to it. But in short, what it says is almost 60 candidates from the current class were still unplaced by the time of graduation, and most of these candidates came from IITs and well-respected professional backgrounds. And see, this is not surprising. This year economy is bad, tech recruitment is bad, consulting is not recruiting. So that is totally fair. Even Harvard, Stanford, all the M7 programs INSEAD have come out and said that the economy is bad and their employment numbers show it. The employment numbers are down all across. Even if you go and look at IIM Ahmedabad's placement report, you will see the CTC was stagnant and the number of candidates placed were lesser. What bothers me is the fact that ISB hasn't really came out and disclosed the exact numbers. Same thing with Masters Union. They have not come out and disclosed placement report or full numbers. And next year, if the economy improves, you will see ISB beating their chests out that, hey, this is our average CTC, so many companies came, 100% of the class is placed. So I would really encourage you to go have a read at the post. I'll link in the comments below. And the only intention here is to not to throw shade, but to show you both sides of the coin. Yes, ISB is one of those colleges which usually gives 100% employment and can be a saving grace in bad economy, but things are not rosy at ISB either. So please talk to your friends who are in the current batch, get a hang of the real situation before you decide to make ISB your dream this year. Moving quickly through other segments in terms of tuition fees, ISB is one of the most expensive MBAs you can get in India. If you are single and you are looking for a shared accommodation, it will cost you roughly 32 lakhs. If you are looking for a studio accommodation, it will end up costing you 36, 37 lakhs. You can pay it in installment, but then they charge you interest on it, 6% interest. I don't know why they charge, but you can just take a bank loan, pay everything in one go. In terms of deadlines, ISB applications are open, and just every year, ISB have 3 rounds again this year. The first deadline is September 15th, then first week of December, and then last week of January. So that was all I wanted to quickly show you guys as to what are some of the important numbers and facts you should be aware about before you apply to ISB, so that you can prepare yourself in the best possible manner when it comes to your GMAT GRE scores and the kind of career goals and salaries you are looking to get at graduation. Now let's jump into the most important segment, the essays ISB is asking this year and how can you write them so that you can beat the increased competition this year. This year, just like last year, ISB is asking 3 essay questions and an additional question for reapplicants. The first essay question is your personal journey, where they ask you about your strengths and weaknesses. It was the same last year as well. Second essay is slightly newer this year, or slightly changed, not new per se, where they're asking you what intellectual experiences have motivated you to pursue an MBA, essentially what that essay means. Third essay is why ISB, why now? It has been the same for last couple of years. It is optional, but typically we recommend all our clients to actually go ahead and write this as well. Last one is for if you applied to ISB last year, could not make it through, and this year you are applying again, then you need to write this extra essay as well. Now, let's jump into these essays one by one, and I'll tell you how you can tackle these essays and what kind of stories you should write in them. But before we look at the essays, I want to talk about 2 application strategy point of views that you should keep in mind. When it comes to application strategy, the big mistake I see a lot of Indian candidates make is all they think about is work. All of their stories come from how amazing projects they have done at work, how good of a leader they were, how many promotions they have had. And that's where a lot of applications fall flat, because all they talk about is work. And trust me, after guiding candidates for 8 years, one thing I can tell you is you will never be able to win in a school like ISB just based on your work. See, everyone have on average 3 to 4 years of experience. Everyone have done great work projects. In 3 to 4 years, everyone gets 1 or 2 promotions. That's no big deal. You need to focus on what are other areas which can help you beat other candidates, which can help you stand out. That's where I encourage all my clients to focus on their social initiative, their extracurriculars, and even personal life events, which can give some diversity and color to your application. Next piece of strategy which we look at before we dive into essays is how to tackle the essay third, which is why ISB question, not only in essays but even in interviews. And this is, again, we being Indians, we are always so focused on academics that everything has to do with professors and what subjects I want to learn, what specialization I want to do. But MBA is a slightly different experience. You don't do an MBA just to go and sit in more classroom lectures to go and get placed in the end. When you look at ISB's marketing or any other executive MBA program or even international MBA program, a lot of them focus on personality development, where the experience inside the classroom is equally important as of experience outside the classroom. So I encourage all my candidates to look at the MBA experience in a very holistic manner, where obviously you need to start with inside the classroom experience. What are you liking about this school's curriculum, the professors, the specializations you want to pursue? But then quickly move out and look at outside of the classroom experience as well. The international exchange, the clubs you plan to lead, the leadership development program the school have, the community or the cultural aspects of the school. Okay, these play an equally important role in helping you build this powerful network of friends which will help you lifelong. And that's where the third segment of outside of the school comes in. If you do not have a good experience during the program, if you do not interact with your peers, if you do not take part in club activities, that's where you will find your network becomes very small even after graduation as well. Outside of the school matters as well, and you need to show ISB how you can be a valuable alum to them even after graduation. On that note, let's jump into the essays. So the first essay, as I mentioned, is about your personal journey. This is where I would really encourage you to not think about work and think about real life stories outside of work. Okay? Think about the social initiatives you have led, the extracurriculars you have excelled in, or even personal life journey which have given you some strength and weaknesses. When it comes to writing a real life story, always use STAR format. That's the easiest format you can follow. Situation, task, action, result. In the end, of course, you need to summarize and share your learnings and how you can contribute inside the classroom. Before we move ahead, one thing I would like to caution here is, even in real life story, a lot of candidates, they focus only on the strengths part and they run away from disclosing their weaknesses. What we typically see when we review the essays here is out of 400 words, there will be 300, 350 words talking about how amazing they have been in life, how they have excelled at academics, sports, even at work. And then there will be this one or two sneaky line in the end that, oh, because of these other achievements they have been chasing, they have fallen weak at maybe their GMAT score or their GPA. They will find this small things which they can just highlight as their weakness and fulfill the prompt. That's not the idea here. See, I want you guys to genuinely look deeper, find the best achievement you have, and talk about the strengths you have gained from such experiences, and then dedicate an equal amount of space talking about your weaknesses and the areas you could improve it in a very genuine manner. When somebody is reading thousands and thousands of essays, seeing genuine stories do actually matter, and they do really give a fresh perspective instead of everyone just being trying to show their strengths and then trying to run away from the weaknesses. Moving on to essay 2. Essay 2 is fairly straightforward. They have asked you what intellectual experiences have motivated you to consider an MBA. Now they have used the word intellectual. Again, it is not just about academics or work experience. There can be intellectual experiences outside of work as well, which may have motivated you to pursue an MBA. So please focus on them as well. And quick examples is, for example, if you're trying to build a startup and you realize that you needed the network. Now, it is not exactly an intellectual experience, but still one of the factors that typically contributes to a lot of people thinking about an MBA. The brand value of it, the network value of having a ISB or an IIM on your resume. And of course, the most common is your work experiences, where you can talk about how you were leading a really important project, but you felt short-handed because you were not able to look at all the aspects because you don't have the business knowledge, and that's why you started thinking that maybe at this point in life I want to go ahead and acquire business knowledge as well. Quick tips on writing this essay. Obviously start with a career summary, then tell a real life story which explains this intellectual experience you had which pushed you to consider an MBA at this stage of your career, and then talk about what skill gaps you identified or what was the core motivation from this experience, and then summarize it or close the essay off talking about how it led you to thinking or becoming serious about pursuing an MBA. Last essay, why ISB and why now? It's very simple. As I mentioned before in the application strategy part, look at it as a holistic experience. Identify at least 2 or 3 strong areas which really speak to you about ISB. You can obviously start with inside the classroom experience, but remember there is only so much ISB offers, and out of 10,000 applications, almost everything has been covered, so you won't be able to find unique things. Focus on outside of the classroom where you think you will thrive in ISB's culture, in ISB's community. And of course, if you have been a contributing member to your bachelor's alumni association, highlight that and show them how you can pay ISB forward as well. Lastly, the reapplicant essay. This is only for candidates who have applied to ISB before, be it your YLP application or be it your last year's or the year before application. So you need to write this essay if you have applied to ISB ever. Quick tips on how to answer a reapplicant essay. You need to focus on what has changed, what has improved, which has made you a better candidate this year, and why ISB should consider you again. Easy things to highlight is your score improvement, of course. After that, you can highlight your extra certifications if you have managed to get something. CFA, CAs, FRM are typical examples. A lot of candidates ask me about what about Coursera courses or other certificates they have done from random places. Usually not that helpful, being very honest. In India, everyone has certificates, and that's what I've been telling from the start of this video. Don't just focus on work or education. Trust me, half the IITians applying to ISB have lots of certificates out there. Focus on, let's say, your leadership experience, international experience, or even if you have picked up new extracurricular or social initiatives. This is what adds color to your application. This is what gives a different perspective from all the Indian IT engineers being minted every year. Okay, so if you have had good leadership experiences, especially outside of work, if you have traveled internationally, or if you have been posted internationally, those are the elements that can help you stand out in the crowd of all the Indian male IT engineers. If you come from this bucket, of course, if you come from a different industry, then definitely highlight those experiences. And the idea here is to bring something fresh, new to the table, where you can bet and say that, hey, this experience has made me a better candidate this year. I am better prepared and I can contribute better this year to ISB as well. Hope that makes sense. Now, of course, if you need more help on digging deeper into these essays, how can you write? Are there good samples that you can refer which can inspire you to think in those directions? Log into Admit portal, where we have a dedicated section showing you how you can explore your life stories, how can you write about your career goals, your social initiatives, extracurriculars, personal life events. We have made detailed lessons, and with every lesson you have a video explainer as well as samples attached, where we typically go into details and show what was the inspiration behind writing this story and how can you think along similar lines and pull something amazing from your life experiences as well. Last segment, letter of recommendations. Let's go through it quickly. ISB's letter of recommendation always remains the same. Few basic things to keep in mind. You only need one letter of recommendation. Ideally should be from your current supervisor. Everyone insists on it. But again, India being India, not a lot of candidates wants to disclose it to their current manager that they are trying or pursuing an MBA. So it is totally fine if you want to get it from different team lead, a dotted line manager, or a skip level manager. In rare cases, go and ask your previous manager as well if you don't want to disclose it to anybody in your current job. Okay, but if you have any questions around this, feel free to drop them in the comments. One thing to keep in mind, it needs to come from a professional email address. Now, if you are in a full-time corporate job, that is totally fine. That is much easier to secure. But if you are an entrepreneur, if you are coming from a business family, it becomes very hard because a lot of people don't have these professional email addresses. So sometimes we have helped candidates set up these professional email addresses really quick. You can go on GoDaddy, buy a domain name and quickly get an email address as well. But if not, you can write an optional essay or you can write an email to ISB and ask what you can do in such a situation if you do not have anybody who have a professional email address to write your recommendation letter. This mostly happens if you are coming from a small and medium business family where you have a lot of suppliers and clients who don't have email addresses. Coming to the questions being asked to your recommender, there are three very simple questions. The first one is short and sweet: how long and in what capacity you have known the candidate. The next two questions again focuses on asking about your strengths or areas where you outshine your peers or you stand out from others with similar experiences. And the last one asks about your weaknesses or areas of improvement. It typically asks in a way of constructive feedback, what feedback you have been given to improve upon. Easy way to answer these when it comes to answering the strength question. Again, please highlight only 2 or 3 main strengths, focused, supported by real life examples. This is where, again, the bad letter of recommendations which we see from candidates are the ones who have highlighted 15 strengths, how they are amazing at every aspect of work, from communication to leading and collaborating and going above and beyond to deliver results under pressure. Please don't do it. Okay? Focus on highlighting 2 or 3 genuine things that you have been praised about or given feedback about, or if you have received a promotions because of a certain project and certain qualities were highlighted. Just focus on 2 or 3 of them. Write a genuine story supporting it. Same thing you need to do when it comes to constructive feedback. Be genuine. Identify 1 or 2 areas where you have received an actual feedback, and see, everyone reading your letter of recommendation at ISB understands that candidates receive constructive feedback. Okay, nobody gets a promotion only based on strengths. Along with the promotion or your yearly performance talk comes constructive feedback. So please feel free to share it genuinely and write the background story that prompted this feedback as well. Don't try to run away. If you try to write 15 strengths and then run away with 1 weakness, those letter of recommendation go straight into dustbin. I never read it, and I can tell you nobody at ISB reads it or believes them as well. And of course, if you need more help with your letter of recommendation, again, you can go to Admit portal. You can create your free account. Most of it is available for free, and look around. We have a dedicated segment catered to letter of recommendations as well, where we teach you on whom you should ask for recommendation, how can you write about your strengths and weaknesses, and the optional questions that may be asked. You can watch the lessons. Every lesson have sample answers, and we have given sample strengths and weaknesses you can look into answering as well. That's all I had for ISB. I hope it added some value. Thanks for watching till the end. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below, because I put out these videos on a regular basis, and this year it is my goal to cover top 40 business schools around the world. So if you are going to pursue your MBA this year, stick around, come back, and definitely go check out Admit Portal. We are putting out these videos on Admit Portal as well, plus a ton more resources, additional videos, additional sample essays and recommendations to help you in your admissions journey. Thank you and good luck for your admissions.